12 spine-chilling sugar daddy tales, the sinister truths uncovered behind cursed lifestyles. Emma's heart raced. An urge to flee coursed through her as she scrolled through her phone, her eyes glued to an article that sent chills down her spine. 12 spine-chilling sugar daddy tales, the sinister truths uncovered behind cursed lifestyles screamed at her. The stories talked about wealthy men harboring dark secrets, manipulating desperate women into a world of opulence that hid a sinister underbelly. Each tale punctuated her thoughts with fear, a tapestry of horror that eerily reflected her life. She had wanted this life, nice dinners, new clothes, a future for Lily. But now? Emma felt the creeping dread, the sensation of someone lurking just outside her front window, breathing. Her palms grew clammy, fingers trembling as she shoved the phone down, the weight of her reality crashing around her. Bills stacked on the kitchen table like a fortress, each one taller than the last. And David, the latest sugar daddy, seemed charming at first, but a deeper fear pulsed in his absence, an itch she couldn't scratch. The next evening, a stomach-churning feeling bubbled up inside her as she glanced out the window, the orange glow of streetlights barely cutting through the heavy humid night. The block looked unchanged, but then again, the smiles of neighbors turned cold. There were whispers of disappearances, murmurs that painted a bleak picture, each one tightening around her like a noose. Silences filled with unspoken fears twisted her thoughts. Were these women really vanished, or were they just shadows in a game they couldn't escape? Suddenly, the phone rang, snapping her back to reality. Glancing at the screen, anticipation twisted her stomach. A hush enveloped her, the world outside fading to black. It was an unknown number. A heartbeat drummed in her ears as she answered. Silence answered back. A chill snaked down her spine. Who was calling? The hairs on her arms raised as she hung up, breathless. Before she could dive into the swirling chaos of her mind, a notification popped up, cutting through like a knife. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as the last sentence faded from her brain, she caught a glimpse of a figure at the edge of her porch. Heart pounding, she flung the curtain aside, but the figure melted into the shadows. Panic churned inside her as she stumbled backward. What was happening? It felt like a trap, like every moment was leading her deeper into a web she wanted to escape. Emma's hands trembled as she thought of Lily. She couldn't let anything happen to her baby. An instinct deeper than fear broke free. She had to get out. But then she found a new text. You're not going anywhere, Emma. Dark dread unfurled within her, recognizing David's number. She stared out again, spotting him parked down the street, headlights off, engine thrumming. The facade crumbled. She was trapped. Who else watched her? Her breath caught as she gathered her thoughts. Could she keep Lily safe while the darkness encroached? The fleeting thrill of riches morphed into a nightmare. The door creaked, pulling her from the shifting shadows of her mind. What would happen next? Fear clawed at her, and as the giggles of her daughter echoed softly, Emma understood true terror wore familiar faces. What had she stepped into? Emma's pulse throbbed in her ears like a relentless drumbeat, drowning out the echoing laughter of Lily playing in the next room. She knew she should focus on her daughter, but the sight of David's car, ominous and waiting, gripped her instincts. Each glance at the darkened window stoked a terror that festered just beneath the surface. I have to get Lily, she whispered to herself, the weight of her responsibility pressing heavily against her chest. She approached the door, each step trembling like a fragile thread on the edge of snapping. If David was lurking out there, how could she protect her daughter? Would he come for them? The light from the street flickered as a gust of wind swept through, making the shadows dance wildly. Emma's heart sank into her stomach. The laughter had stopped. Silence engulfed the house, stretching so thin it felt like a taut line ready to snap. "Lily?" She called softly, her voice a brittle whisper, frail against the thickening dread. A tiny voice responded from the other room, but it felt weaker, faint. "Mommy, I'm here." Emma's breath hitched. She forced herself to move, unwilling to let the echoes of fear keep her rooted. As she stepped into the living room, shadows lurked in the corners, creeping like ink slowly spilling across a blank page. "Lily?" Her tone was laced with urgency. She approached the hallway where her daughter played with scattered toys that seemed to be mocking her, vibrantly colorful against the dull haze of her panic, but Lily wasn't at the end of the hall. In an instant, Emma's thoughts spiraled. Where was she? A hot wave of panic surged through her, and she turned the corner, eyes racing. Then she froze. There, hovering, was a sinister figure in the dim glow of the hall light. It wasn't just David. Another presence, darker, cloaked in shadows, stood inches away from her daughter's bedroom door. She fell backward, the hardwood floor slamming against her trembling frame like a siren's call of despair. No. Everything seemed to slow down. The figure stepped into the light just enough for Emma to catch a glimpse. A hunter's grin stretched across their face, eyes glinting with a predatory hunger. "Looking for someone?" the figure hissed. "Get away from her!" Emma shouted, scrambling to her feet. Lily's tiny sob behind her bedroom door echoed through the house, mixing with the icy laughter that tore through her heart. She lunged forward, adrenaline surging like wildfire. "Lily!" The door wouldn't budge, it was locked. "Mommy, please!" The whimper of her child ignited the last shreds of her courage. She clawed at the door, her nails scraping against the wood. The figure giggled, a sound that sliced through the air like glass breaking. "You should have stayed away from David. Now, it's too late." Emma's blood turned to ice. The realization crashed down like a wave. David wasn't just a wealthy man. This was part of a far more terrifying game. Just then, the darkness shifted, and a chilling voice murmured, "He was just the beginning." Emma's heart stopped. What awaited her on the other side of that door? As the figure advanced, the walls felt like they were closing in. She couldn't breathe. Desperate, Emma smashed her shoulder against the door, frantically trying to break it down, every ounce of courage focused on reaching her daughter before the darkness consumed them both. Would she manage to save Lily in time, or would they both become trapped in a game she never understood? She pushed harder, body straining, as the cold laughter echoed around her. It was no longer just survival, it was a race against a horror that might reveal even darker truths. And then she heard a muffled cry from inside the room. How long until they came for her? How long until the truth would unravel? Emma's shoulder collided with the door, pain flaring through her limb like a fire ignited from a mere spark. She could feel the relentless thudding of her heart drowning out the world, panic surged through her veins. Each thrust at the door only summoned laughter, mocking her, taunting her desperation. "Lily!" She cried out again, a wail twisted into a desperate plea. The sound felt raw, echoing through her throat and shattering the chilling stillness around her. She tried the knob, praying for it to yield, but it remained obstinately locked. With every defiant knock, the shadows shifted, undulating on the walls like pleading wraiths. That figure loomed larger, dark as a nightmare and hunched over, their face a mask of paralyzed insanity. "The game is just beginning." The voice wrapped around her like a cold fog, chilling her to the bone. "Mommy!" The cry came again, weak yet filled with a frantic urgency that fueled Emma's instinct. As fear turned into rage, she slammed her shoulder again, a desperate animalistic instinct overriding her fear. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and she gritted her teeth against the pain, feeling the adrenaline course through every sinew of her body. Behind her, the figure chuckled low and dangerous. "You don't know what you're up against," it hissed, each word curling like smoke in the air. "David brought you here. He knew what was to come." "Shut up." Emma spat, fury igniting within her. She stepped back, and with a deep breath, ran at the door once more, launching her whole body into the wood. It yielded a creak but held fast. Another strike sent pain lancing through her arm, yet she gripped the knob again, twisting. It felt impossibly stubborn. Lily's whimpers grew softer, blending with the laughter that danced around the figure, a chilling symphony reveling in the chaos. "Little girl, you should be quiet," it crooned mockingly. Emma's heart plummeted. Then, a flash an idea sparked in her mind. She turned to the kitchen and remembered the knife set always so dangerously accessible on the counter. David's carelessness had always irked her, a strange contrast to his obsession with control. She bolted, driven by instinct, snatching a heavy kitchen knife from its block. The figure flinched, its attention fixating on her, fading into shadow. It tilted its head, grinning wider, revealing rows of pointed teeth that gleamed like knives themselves. "Oh, it's a game of guts you want to play?" it taunted. How delicious. With renewed determination, Emma lunged back for the door, clutching the knife tightly. The laughter intensified, dancing in her ears as she hurled her weight against the locked barrier. She could feel the panic rising like bile in her throat. She would not lose her daughter. Not like this. "Lily, I'm coming." With one final push, she put her shoulder into it, desperation amplifying her strength. The door shuddered and gave way, flinging open with a force that sent her crashing to the floor. Inside the room, shadows danced madly, swirling around her daughter who trembled in a corner, eyes wide and terrified. But the figure was gone, the room felt colder. "Mommy!" Lily cried again, and Emma scrambled to her. As she wrapped her arms around her daughter, a whisper slithered back into the room, the voice echoing from the dark corners, "You can't hide from the truth forever. He will come for you both." Emma's skin crawled. The threat hung in the air, suffocating. What chilling fate awaited them? A pulse of looming dread tightened her grip on Lily, urging them into the stripped light of the living room. But as they stepped into the brightness, Emma froze. David's car remained parked ominously outside, and this time, the engine turned over. What was he planning? What would happen when he came back for them? Emma's breath quickened as the low rumble of the engine echoed through the still night, reverberating in her chest like a warning bell. Panic clawed at her throat, choking back any rational thought as she clutched Lily against her. The girl's tears soaked into Emma's shirt, amplifying the urgency, the need to escape. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, burying her face in Emma's side. "I know, sweetie. We have to be quiet. And we have to move now." They edged toward the door leading to the hall, the shadows creeping along the walls more menacing than before. Emma's mind raced, weighing the spaces between every flicker of light that spilled from the living room. Then, a door creaked softly, echoing from inside the house. A sinister chill swept through her. Had David returned? Emma edged forward, knife still gripped tightly in her hand. The last thing she had to do was leave this place, this nightmare that seemed to cling to her like a bad smell. She glanced back at the living room, illuminated but still bent with shadows, each forming shapes that danced menacingly. "Stay close to me, Lily," she whispered. "No matter what happens, stay by my side. Do you understand?" "Why, yeah," her daughter nodded, her little voice trembling, but Emma felt her smallness, the weight of her daughter's fragility pressed against her. The laughter echoed again, an insane, shrill peal that wormed its way under Emma's skin. The figure loomed in her mind, mocking her resolve. Without thinking, she opened the door, the hinges creaking like a groaning old man. The hallway stretched before them, dark, cold, dangerous. Suddenly, outside, headlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the front of the house. David's car rolled up past the porch in an agonizingly slow manner. Emma's heart raced, her pulse a wild drum. "We have to hide." Lily grabbed her hand tight as they ducked behind a heavy curtain, hearts beating fiercely in unison. Through the fabric, Emma could see the silhouette of her husband approach, the shadow spilling thin and angular across the floor. He moved calmly, deliberately, almost predatory. Emma, his voice dripped like honey, smooth and inviting, yet twisted with an undercurrent of menace. Are you home? Emma pressed a hand over her daughter's mouth, stifling the gasping breath that threatened to break their cover. I know you're here, Emma, he called, a smile hidden in his tone. Our little game isn't quite finished. You can't run forever. Her mind spun. What game was he talking about? Was this a riddle, a trap? Doubts assaulted her thoughts, gnawing away at her sanity. The walls seemed to close in, shadows weaving a tapestry of dread around them. The door swung open wider, allowing a sliver of light to spill across the curtained edges. David stepped inside, but didn't he go far, scanning the room like a predator watching its cornered prey. Lily? Sweetheart? His voice dripped with sweetness that turned bitter in Emma's ears. Emma put her lips close to her daughter's ear, whispering, whatever happens, stay quiet. Don't move. But Lily's eyes widened in terror, and Emma felt a tremor run through her. The laughter, that awful laughter, echoed again, bounced off the walls like a chorus of demons praising David's arrival. Come out, wherever you are, he taunted, edging closer to their hiding spot. The knife in Emma's hand felt like a flimsy shield against the darkness that encroached around them. Then, from the depths of the shadows, emerged a familiar figure, one she hadn't expected. David's smile widened as he turned slightly, revealing a reflection in the glass. A figure stood behind him, shadowy but oddly familiar. Don't keep me waiting, Emma, he whispered, the words dripping with malicious pleasure. You really wouldn't want to ruin the fun. A cold wave of dread crashed over her as she clutched Lily tighter. Who was this ghostly figure? Had they been followed? The night was closing in, and it felt like the walls themselves were closing in, too. Emma's breath hitched. What other truths lay hidden in the dark corners of this nightmare? Would anyone ever truly be safe from the horrors lurking in the familiar? The air thickened with tension, suffocating Emma as she strained to see beyond the veil of the curtain. The figure behind David loomed larger, obscured by shadows yet unmistakably alive. A chill crawled up her spine as a name flickered in her mind. Jenna. Emma's heart pounded, racing like a tainted clock counting down to disaster. Who is there? David asked, his voice suddenly calm. Show yourself. Emma held her breath, desperately hoping this was all some cruel delusion, a mirage conjured by her fraying sanity. She gripped the knife tighter, wishing it could cut through fear as easily as flesh. Lily's small form pressed into her, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. The shadow shifted. David? A voice whispered, faltering and fragmented. Is it you? Emma's heart sank. The familiarity of that voice filled her with dread. Jenna had vanished a year ago. The news had been a hunt, a mystery, an open wound that gnawed at the community. Yet here she stood, or rather loomed in the darkness, her presence a ghostly echo of the past. There you are. David stepped toward the figure, his smile now twisted, eyes gleaming with a sickening delight. You've been a long way off, darling. David, I thought. Jenna's voice broke, the words clawing at the air. Emma caught sight of a faint outline, her ghostly form twitching, like a broken marionette. Emma wanted to scream, to shatter the dreadful silence, but fear held her voice hostage. She turned slightly to gauge Lily's reaction. The girl stared wide-eyed, lost in a mix of fear and fascination. Jenna, David whispered, his voice now a caress, come to me. The incredulous notion bubbled in Emma's mind. Could it really be her? Was she alive? A world of questions closed around her, but they turned to ash before they could escape her lips. David. A hint of urgency laced Jenna's voice. I can't stay here, I don't belong. Your path led you right back to me. He took another step, his presence a grotesque marriage of confidence and danger. We can fix it, Jenna. I swear. Emma could feel the tension in the air, thick as smoke. What fix could possibly lie within the warped embrace of this house? She realized then they were not just puppets but players in a situation infinitely darker than she'd imagined. Footsteps approached, heavy and deliberate, echoing through the air like an approaching storm. David's eyes sparkled, losing their depth. "Emma, darling!" Suddenly a door creaked open from down the hall. The sound seemed to ripple through time, puncturing the fragile bubble that had formed. "We've got company." Emma's heart sank into her stomach, fear roaring like a beast inside her. She wanted to bolt, to flee from this twisted nightmare. But every instinct told her to stay hidden, to keep Lily safe, to prepare for whatever entered next. A figure passed through the doorway, dusk-like against the dim light. Emma's breath caught, panic closing around her throat. Another echo of laughter erupted, cruel and taunting, wafting through the air like a poisonous cloud. The figure paused, and the moment hung by a thread, poised to snap. "Who's been playing?" It sneered as it moved further into the light. The labyrinth of horror unfolded before them, each revelation turning her insides to ice. Emma's grip tightened around that flimsy knife as darkness encroached. Who else would emerge from the shadows, and would she and Lily survive the maddening game? The world they knew felt like a dream that had twisted into a waking nightmare, and disillusionment pressed down like a weight. With every passing second, they teetered on a precipice. What horrors awaited them next? Would the darkness consume her whole? The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a face twisted by malice. It was an older man, his skin taut against his bones, a sinister grin etched deep around his mouth. Emma knew him. Everyone in town did. Paul, the town's butcher, had always been a little off, a little too eager with a knife. He had a reputation for creeping around when the sun dipped beneath the horizon. Now, he stared at them, eyes glinting with a mix of hunger and delight. "Ah, the curious little family," Paul drawled, licking his lips as if savoring a delicious meal. "What brings you to my corner of the world?" Emma felt the blood drain from her face. She tightened her grip on the knife, her fingers slipping over the cold metal as she struggled against her rising panic. Lily pressed closer, her small form quaking against Emma's hip. This was not the friendly butcher from the corner shop, this was a predator. "Get away from her!" David barked, stepping in front of Emma and Lily. His bravado seemed paradoxical against the crumbling walls of the house, but Emma sensed something in his eyes, fear mixed with an unsettling thrill. "Oh, but I am here for the show." Paul chuckled, a sound that slithered around them like a serpent. "I've been waiting, a long time. Each of you plays a part in this little drama. What do you want?" Emma finally found her voice, and it was shaky, like glass about to shatter. "Want? Oh, dear Emma, it's not that simple," he replied, taking a slow step closer, unhurried, relishing the dread that soaked the room. "You see, the town has secrets. Dark, delicious secrets. And I've been collecting fragments of them. Your dear David, and even the lovely ghost out there." He gestured toward Jenna, who stood shivering in the shadows. "Stop. You don't know anything." David shouted, but even he couldn't keep the wobble from his voice. "Nonsense!" Paul exclaimed, his laughter reverberating ominously. "I know everything. You made promises, David. Promises that led to ruin." With every word, a sense of dread encroached upon Emma, inescapable as the shadows closing in. She felt the weight of the past lurking closer, a collection of their sins waiting to be unveiled. David had changed since Jenna's disappearance, and the way Paul spoke, it was as if he unraveled secrets no one should know. "Let her go," Emma demanded, her voice stronger now. Paul's grin widened, showcasing teeth too white against the darkness. "You don't understand, dear," he said, inching closer still. "We can't just let her go. She's part of this puzzle we're trying to solve." Jenna's outline flickered, ghostly and uncertain. "No, I can't, I'm trapped," she whimpered, her voice torn between fear and sorrow. "Trapped? Or chosen?" Paul mused, tilting his head as if he were admiring a work of art. He took another step, and Emma backed up, keeping Lily behind her as the tension coiled tighter. Behind him, the shadows stirred. What had once been static now twisted and shifted with life. They were not alone, more shapes emerged, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Emma's breath hitched. She could taste the malice in the air, a suffocating presence that hung like smoke. That eye and the turmoil. David sprang forward. Get away from her. He yelled again, desperate, but Paul's laughter drowned out his voice, swirling around them like an impending storm. Let the fun begin. Paul exclaimed, eyes shining with madness. As the first dark shape lunged forward, Emma's instincts kicked in. She had to act, had to protect Lily, had to push back against the gathering storm. But fear clung to her like a second skin as chaos erupted. Who would emerge unscathed from this nightmare? Would they find the strength to battle the darkness, or would the truth of their past consume them all? Emma's heart hammered in her chest. And it had just begun. Emma didn't have time to think. The shape lunged, darting towards them faster than her eyes could register. Adrenaline surged through her veins, sharpening her senses. She could hear the low growl of the shifting shadows, smell the metallic tang of fear and sweat mixed in the air. David, no! She screamed as he lunged toward the dark figure. It was a futile gesture, but she couldn't let him face this alone. The creature that shrouded itself in darkness moved with unnatural speed, swirling between David and Emma. It was a mass of shadows with piercing eyes that burned like embers. Stay back! David shouted, but the haze thickened around them, distorting his voice. Paul watched with glee, his grin widening as he twisted his knife in the air. Oh, yes! This is what I've wanted. The revelation before the end. You see, the darkness isn't just outside, it's within. Emma felt a chill creep up her spine. The shadows weren't just physical, they were a reflection of their own insecurities, their sins laid bare. He's right, Jenna murmured, her spectral form flickering closer. We can't run from what we've done. It's caught up with us. Stop, Jenna! David yelled. You don't know what you're saying. The air grew thick with torment as the shadows enveloped Jenna. Emma realized they weren't merely attacking, they were feeding off despair. Despair that had festered since Jenna's disappearance, the guilt gnawing silently at their hearts. Suddenly, one shadow split from the mass, reaching out with an arm that elongated like smoke. It grasped David's wrist, freezing him in place, as it opened its mouth wide, a chasm of darkness yearning to swallow him whole. David! Emma lunged forward, brandishing the knife, her heart racing. She felt the cold steel bite into her palm, grounding her in the chaos. Emma, don't! He shouted. She was terrified, but instinct kicked in. With all her strength, she thrust the knife forward, aiming for the shadow that held David captive. But the knife met resistance, clinking harmlessly against the darkness, like trying to slice through fog. The figure laughed, a sound more chilling than Paul's. You think you can fight us with steel? You have to face yourself first. That revelation hit Emma harder than any blade. She had avoided the truth, letting guilt bury her. Jenna's loss, David's pain, they haunted her. Confused laughter mingled with the lingering scent of decay. Let him go! She screamed, a raw plea that broke through the haze. Paul stepped closer, reveling in the moment, enjoying their suffering like a twisted conductor preparing for a symphony of fear. You see? It's all part of a choice. This is a fate you brought upon yourselves. No! David roared, fighting against the grip of the shadow. The raw energy of his struggle seemed to pull the darkness tighter around him. Jenna's ghostly form shifted, desperation igniting her darkened expressions. You can't save me unless you save him, too. Face your past. Emma's mind raced. She felt the weight of their secrets pressing against her chest. She could still turn back, flee from the truth, leave the past buried deep where it wouldn't pierce their lives. But the thought of leaving David to face this terror alone. No, an image of him, trapped within failure, was unbearable. Then I have to try. Emma shouted back, each word heavy with determination. With a raging pulse, she launched herself toward David, gripping his arm tightly. The shadows recoiled, thrashing against their connection, disintegrating in whispers like a bad dream. Hold on. We can break free. She urged, ice in her veins, entrapped between black tendrils and Paul's mocking laughter. But as they fought the darkness, something shifted. Paul's expression morphed from glee to shock. Stop this. It wasn't supposed to be this way. He cried out, fumbling for his knife, backing away. Emma could feel power surging, but with every victory against the shadows, an even darker force began to rise. One that threatened to engulf them all. Let us end this. David shouted, voice trembling with strength as he wrenched free from the grip of despair, but the shadows screamed back, thrumming with anger, trying to coalesce around Paul once more, pushing towards a reckoning neither of them anticipated. Would bittersweet truths unveil themselves in time or spiral them further into darkness? As the chaos roared on, Emma realized the battle was only just beginning. They needed to uncover the secrets hidden within, or risk losing everything forever. What awaited them in the depth of their past? Would light break through the darkness or swallow them whole? The howl of darkness vibrated in the air, sinking into the very marrow of their bones. Emma held on tighter to David, their fingers intertwined, a beacon of warmth against the overwhelming cold. But even that comfort was overshadowed by the darkness swirling menacingly around them, pulling at the edges of their sanity. Keep fighting. David shouted, determination brimming in his voice. The shadows twisted in response, angry wails rising as if they were furious at the defiance. They lashed out, tendrils of black reaching for Emma, searching for her vulnerabilities, her fears. Jenna's voice echoed, distant yet painfully close. You can't avoid it. You must embrace what you fear most to break free. The words crashed into her like a wave of despair. The weight of hesitation clawed at her chest, suffocating her resolve. She could feel the shadows enticing her with promises of escape, but at what cost? Would it mean losing David? Emma, listen to me. David's shock-filled gaze pierced through the swirling mass. We have to trust each other. Do not fall for their lies. His voice cut through her doubled thoughts. Yes, she had to face it. She had to confront the guilt that had pressured her heart since Jenna's disappearance. The truth was lurking, waiting to drag her down into the depths, and now felt like the moment to reclaim it. Together. She yelled, sealing her eyes shut, drawing the courage from somewhere deep inside. She felt David's grip tighten, their anguish combining into a solid shield against the darkness. As she opened her eyes, she saw it a flicker of remembered light. It was the image of a laughter-filled summer day, when Jenna had been alive, a time when they danced barefoot in the sun. The memory burst forth, shining bright, flaring against the dark echoes trying to swallow them whole. Jenna. We remember you. We will find you. Emma cried, the words resonating loudly in the chaos around them. It was a promise she had made, a light to pull them from despair. The shadows hissed, recoiling as if burned. They thrashed violently, anger radiating through the air, distorting Emma's senses. Paul's visage flickered in and out of focus, a chaotic mix of fear and disbelief. This shouldn't be happening. But Emma didn't care. They were breaking free. She could feel it. The darkness had been feeding off their fear, their guilt, but not anymore. She engulfed herself in the happy memories, holding tight to her heart, each remembrance pushing back against the shadowy grip. Let her go. Let us go. David's voice boomed, echoing with power that she could feel. It wasn't just about fighting back, it was a recognition of their past, an acceptance of grief and guilt intertwined. But then, the temperature dropped sharply. The shadows regrouped, swarming back with an insatiable hunger. An overwhelming chill wrapped around Emma, paralyzing her breath quickening, and for a split second, doubt threatened to creep in. Had they really broken free, or was this a last desperate play? As she gasped for air, the tendrils slithered up her legs, dragging her down, her heart racing with panic. "Emma! Fight it!" David screamed, but the shadows were relentless. They twined tighter, thoughts of guilt whispering in her ears, warring with the memories of joy. "What's the point of holding on?" A chilling voice tickled the back of her mind. "You're all so broken you will never escape." Just given. Emma's heart twisted, teetering on the brink of despair when she remembered Jenna's laughter, a sound both poignant and tender. A warmth ignited within her, reminding her that love transcended even the darkest of shadows. "No!" she screamed, the force of the word igniting the air like fire. "You will not take us. We are stronger together." In that moment of existence, the shadows heaved as if pulled by a great wave. They clawed at her heart, but she let their desperation fuel her determination. With each heartbeat, Emma and David became a beacon of light in the dark. But as the shadows contorted in rage, an ominous silence followed. The struggle began to feel like a fragile thread stretched to its breaking point. What if they couldn't win? What if this was it, their last stand before the inevitable doom swallowed them whole? Paul's laughter returned, now tinted with madness as he beckoned the shadows closer. Emma felt the ground tremble beneath her, a sinister prelude to whatever horror loomed just beyond. "Fight, Emma!" David's voice guided her, but the weight of the impending darkness was pressing down hard. What new horrors awaited them if the darkness won? Would broken hearts be all that remained? Emma's heart hammered against her ribs, each thud echoing the unrelenting pressure of creeping shadows. The warmth she had fought to hold on to was diminishing, slipping through her fingers like water. David's voice was fading, struggling to rise above the overwhelming dread that had taken root in her gut. Suddenly, everything around them began to shift. The memories that had once buoyed her spirit dulled, clouded by a swirling fog of doubt and despair. Images of sunlit days turned gray, and Jenna's laughter morphed into echoing sobs. The darkness rippled with new energy, twisting and clawing as it sought to unravel the threads of their resolve. "Emma!" The whispers were like silken threads, wrapping around her mind. "What if you never find her? What if this is all your fault?" "No!" Emma gasped, shaking her head as if it could physically dislodge the creeping tendrils snaking through her thoughts. She needed to concentrate. She had to remember why they were here. But every rational thought blurred, drowning in an ocean of guilt. The shadows hissed, sensing her weakness and latching onto it. It was like 1,000 icy fingers skittering across her skin, making her shiver. "You're lost to them already." Just accepted. David's grip slackened, a thin line of fear cracking the determination in his eyes. "Emma, fight back. You have to." He urged, but he, too, was starting to falter. The shadows began to form shapes, grotesque figures of those they had lost. Jenna's face appeared, pale and sorrowful, her eyes pleading. "You can't save me, Emma, it's too late for me." Tears burned at the corners of Emma's eyes as the urge to succumb washed over her like a tide. But Jenna's expression shifted. It morphed slowly, revealing anger, regret, a sadness that pulled on Emma's heart. "You must remember me as I was, not as I am. Hold on to us. Jenna!" Emma screamed, fighting back the tears, the weight of despair wanting to drag her under. She didn't want to let go, even as the shadows tried to convince her otherwise. With every ounce of strength, she pulled at her memories of Jenna, their late-night secrets, laughter that danced in the air, and unstoppable friendship. Each memory became a shield, a barrier against the encroaching forces. "You are not a shadow. You are more than this." But the shadows were relentless. They surged forward, striking her with visions of surrender, days darkened by guilt, nights spun in pain. Emma's breath came in sharp gasps, panic seeping into every muscle, every nerve. "We'll be together again, Jenna. I swear I won't let you go." The ground trembled beneath them, a rumble threatening to engulf their reality. Just as darkness threatened to consume, a sudden light flickered on the edge of Emma's vision. It pulsed, gathering strength, a chance at salvation. But was it merely a trick of the shadows? Emma. Please. David's voice trembled, breaking through the darkness. She turned, startled by the urgency in his tone. His eyes blazed with their familiar warmth, a flickering candle in the black abyss. Take my hand. With shaking fingers, Emma reached for David, but a furious cry erupted from the shadows, twisting toward them like a monstrous beast. They surged forward, knowing their chance was slipping away. Together. David shouted, urgency lacing every syllable. With one final glance at the shadowy figure of Jenna, Emma made her choice. She propelled herself toward David, reaching for his hand as the darkness lunged. Everything exploded in a cascade of light and shadow. An incredible force pulled them both forward, blending hope with fear. What comes next? Emma thought, the question echoing in her mind as they were swept away, the cold darkness nipping at their heels. Was this the end, or a new beginning? The light beckoned, but at what cost? In a brilliant blaze of blinding light, Emma and David felt as if they were being yanked through time. The shadows screamed behind them, shrill notes of despair, fury boiling over as they receded into the distance. For a moment, hope surged in Emma's heart. Maybe, just maybe, they could emerge unscathed from the horror that clawed at their souls. As the light began to dim, they tumbled onto a solid surface. The warmth enveloped them like an embrace, grounding Emma. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the brightness. A lush, sun-drenched garden spread before them, flowers blooming vibrantly, colors vivid against the once ominous darkness. The weight of despair felt distant, retreating like a bad dream. Emma blinked again, taking in the scene. Is this real? She murmured, her voice hoarse. David looked around, relief flooding his features. I think we made it. I think we're safe. But in that silence, the peace so rich, it could almost be tasted. Emma felt something tightening in her chest. What about Jenna? She asked, remembering the anguish, the whispers. We left her. David's expression shifted. No, we didn't leave her. We faced the truth, the darkness. Just as he spoke, a soft wind swept across the garden, rustling leaves and hinting at movement. There, at the edge of the clearing, a familiar figure materialized. Jenna stepped forward, radiant in the sunlight, her face softening into an expression of warmth and forgiveness. Emma, she breathed, her voice a melody of hope. You found your way to the truth. You saved yourself, and in doing so, you saved me. Emma's heart swelled. Tears spilled down her cheeks as disbelief merged with relief. I never wanted to let you go. I would have done anything. Jenna smiled gently, an ethereal light dancing in her eyes. Sometimes we must face the darkness to find the light. You didn't just fight for me, you fought for all that you love. Now it's time for both of us to heal. We will always carry each other's love even if the shadows of the past linger. Emma's breath steadied, the weight of guilt dissipating. David stood beside her, arms embracing her waist, anchoring her to this moment. He squeezed her shoulder, affirming that they would walk this path together, always. We're free now, he whispered, all washing over him like a soft tide. No more games. Together, Emma echoed, and at that moment, the air shimmered around them, vibrating with possibility. Jenna stepped closer, her spirit warm and radiant. For you both, the nightmares are over, but remember, light and shadow will always exist. Make choices that honor your journey, and know you can always come back to your truth. With a flick of her wrist, Jenna swirled fading blossoms into the air, their colors mesmerizing. Each petal sank into Emma and David's skin, tattooing memories of love, strength, and hope. As Jenna began to fade, the warmth of the sun wrapped around Emma and David like a comforting embrace, shielding them from all pain, all fear. Thank you, Emma called after her, tears of gratitude streaming down her cheeks. The garden pulsed with the remnants of a shared battle, the battle against darkness, and the triumph of truth. Emma turned to David, who looked at her with newfound appreciation. They took a deep breath, standing hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. "Let us go home," Emma said, her heart finally at peace. With one last glance at the delightful garden of hope and healing, they turned to walk away, leaving behind fears, secrets, and the shadow of despair. But they carried within them a fierce strength, a burning light forged from shadows, and the promise of a bright future ahead. As Emma and David stepped into the vibrant new chapter of their lives, they knew the past would remind, but it would no longer dictate their fate. Now, this is the moment for each of you. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that await. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover this epic journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what you think may happen next. And don't hesitate, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Our family grows through your support, and only true fans understand the importance of standing together. Don't wait even one more second.